Hello friends, in this video I will be talking about the transistor as an amplifier. Transistor acts as an amplifier due to transistor action. So let us consider an NPN transistor, emitter, base, collector. So consider this to be in an active region where the emitter base junction is forward biased and base collector junction is reverse biased. So negative, positive, positive, negative. So this causes the emitter base junction to be forward biased and base collector junction to be reverse biased. So this negative charge here will repel the electrons in the n region to go into the and due to the and the base emitter base region emitter base junction causes a very low resistance to the charge carriers because of forward bias, and it is very thin, and the base collector junction due to the reverse bias across it gives a very high resistance. So this will be like two resistors with our output taking in one output taking across one resistor and input across other resistor, and this is a high resistance value and this is a low resistor value. The electrons that are repelled due to this negative voltage cross over into the base region where they do not find enough holes to recombine with, and they and as a result they go into the collector region even due to the even after the presence of very high impedance junction. So this is like a similar, and will be a small current loss in the base region, but it will be very small, and we know that as emitter current is nearly equal to collector current and base current is negligible. So therefore IE can be taken nearly equal to IC. So then it is similar, it is like two resistance, one at high resistance and a low resistance, and an equal current flowing through it, and the output across the higher resistance will be a very high value, and then the input and this is the input voltage become this is how the amplification is achieved in the transistor. And now but we cannot use a transistor as it is by applying a voltage here, by applying a voltage signal AC voltage here and taking the output. So let's see why. The transistor current IC depends on beta. It is a function of beta, which is in terms a function of temperature. So depending, whenever the temperature changes there will be a change in beta, and hence there will be a change in IC, and this causes distortions. Let us see the distortions occurring in the, let me draw the output characteristics VCE versus IC of a transistor, and they like this is the breakdown region, this is the saturation, and this is the linear region. In this linear region we can see that this is a curved region. So for the transistor the output voltage will be somewhat it will be A naught into Vi plus A1 into Vi square and so on. So this the output will be non-linear because of this non-linear curve. For a linear output we need the curve to be like this, straight with a constant slope. So to have the output nearly linear, we take a very small region of the output characteristics which is nearly linear and operate the transistor in this region so that the output will be linear. That is the reason why we always deal with small signal analysis. Small signals are applied and small signal is used in transistors. And if the and there is a concept called DC load line. So whenever a load is applied at the output of a transistor, the VCE and IC are varied and there can be drawn a load line here. This point will be VCC and this point will be VCC by RC. This can be drawn from the transistor diagram. RC, VCC, and this is grounded, this is input. This is input. So we can see that VCC by RC. VCC, when the voltage is, when the voltage across the VC is 0, then the current will be VCC by RC, and when current will be 0, the voltage VC will be VCC, and this has been reflected in the load line. So if we have to make the transistor to operate at such a point so that there will be no distortion. Let us select 3 points. 3 points. If it is in this region, the transistor goes into saturation and the output will get distorted. And if it is in this region, it will be going into cutoff region, and again there will be a distortion in the output waveform. So I will select a point in the middle of the load line, so that the output of the transistor will be distortionless, and it will look somewhat like this. So this point is called VCQ comma ICQ. This is the Q would stand for quiescent point, or operating point. And this process of maintaining the VCQ and ICQ at the middle of the load line is called biasing the transistor. So we need to bias the transistor by applying DC voltages in such a way that it will be in this region and will not move away, whenever because of temperature being a function of IC being a function of temperature, and this point will vary with respect to temperature. So we need to apply the DC bias in such a way that there will be no variation in the DC load line in the operating point. So there are various biasing circuits available. The famous are base bias. Base bias is nothing but a normal transistor circuit shown here. Let me draw it again here. Here, this is nothing but a normal transistor with its base driven by a DC source. The stability factor of this is very poor, and this is not used. So for increasing stability, we use the control systems concept of feedback. By using a feedback concept, we supply a part of the output to the input, so that in a negative feedback, so that the transistor action is stabilized, that is the IC is stabilized. So the next circuit we consider here is the collector to base bias. Collector to base bias. Here the circuit is somewhat like this. Here there is a VCC, RB, RC and RB. Here the current flowing through this will be IC plus IB, and it gets partitioned into IC and IB, and then goes into the base. The RB will be high value, so that only a small amount of current is sent into the base to switch on for switching on the transistor. The stability factor for this is given by is equal to 1 plus beta into RC by RC plus RB. And there's a reason why this is not, why you haven't seen this in your laboratories. I shall discuss it after talking about the self bias. Here the self bias circuit. The self bias circuit looks like this. This is RC, RE, R1, R2. There is a feedback path from emitter output to the input. So it gives a negative feedback and the output is stabilized. The stability factor is given by S equal to 1 plus beta by 1 plus beta into RE by RE plus RTH, where RTH is the Thevenin equivalent resistance looking into the base, and it is equal to R2 by R1 plus R2 and 2 by R1 plus R2. So we can observe that the collector to base bias stability factor and the self bias stability factor are same. Let us see why self bias circuit is used more. before talking about the why self bias is required, I need another concept of AC analysis. Now we have biased our transistor in such a way that it is in the middle, it is in the middle of the load line, because by using self bias circuit we have made the transistor to remain at the middle of the load line, that is and it is VCEQ comma ICQ. Now our transistor is ready to be applied as signal, which is to be amplified. Now for amplifying the signal, we cannot use the after applying the signal, for where there are various parameters that needs to be calculated, like voltage gain, current gain, input impedance, output impedance. These are all the AC circuit parameters that needs to be calculated for various purposes. So, for achieving various cap these are the specifications that are need to be found to attain the required specifications of our amplifier. So by looking at the normal transistor, we cannot calculate these things, but we will convert we convert the transistor into an equivalent circuit whose operation will be similar to the transistor action, and the circuit will consist of elements like R, L, C, which we are very familiar with. Such a circuit is called AC equivalent of a transistor. There are very many equivalent circuits or AC equivalent circuits of a transistor at small signal and at high frequency and at low frequency. At low, we will first consider the low frequency signal, low frequency equivalent of an transistor. Here I have drawn an hybrid pipe model. This is valid for low frequency. Low frequency, here the circuit consists of voltage input source resistance, and the transistor input resistance looking into the base current, and here this is a voltage controlled voltage source. Its voltage is controlled by the output voltage. This is a current controlled current source. Its current is controlled by the input current, and this is an output admittance. So by applying the signal here, by applying the KVL, we can find the value of IB as Vs minus HRE into V2 by Rs plus HIE equal to IB, and substituting this value in here in HFE into IB, we can calculate V2 as HFE into IB in by H0, as H0 is the admittance. This is the current flowing, and this is the admittance. So V2 equal to HF into IB by H0. So from these two, we can calculate various parameters of an AC analysis, like AV equal to V2 by V1, AI equal to I2 by I1, where I2 is this, Zin is V1 by I1, Z0 is V2 by I2. This is the AC equivalent resistance. Before going to the next topic, let's see, this is the equivalent resistor of the transistor. This. So here there is no resistor here, there is no connection here, or and there are no other resistors, capacitors, etc. So the base is, this is the base, this is emitter, this is collector. So this is the equivalent resistor, the equivalent network of the transistor shown in such a configuration. So let's get back to our past discussion of DC bias. Here we can see this transistor this transistor circuit or this transistor circuit is not in accordance with this circuit, so we cannot apply both all this analysis at a time to a single circuit. So what we do is try to for AC analysis we make the circuit to look like this, and for DC analysis we make the circuit to look like this. So let us think how to make it to let us see how we will make this into to look as this circuit in DC analysis and AC analysis, and in AC analysis as this circuit. For DC analysis, we know that for the impedance offered by capacitor Z equal to 1 by j omega C. ZC equal to 1 by j omega C. At DC, omega equal to 0, the impedance offered will be very high and it will be an open circuit capacitor at DC. So connecting a capacitor here for DC analysis will not cost me anything, because it anyway it will be an open circuit for DC. This is called the emitter bypass capacitor, as you might have seen in the laboratory. So after connecting this, let's see how it is reflected when an AC signal is applied. When an AC signal is applied, the impedance of the capacitor will be Z equal to 1 by j omega c. Due to the omega, the impedance will be due to the presence of some omega not equal to 0 but greater than 0 of the being the frequency. There will be the impedance will be a far less, the impedance will be far, and the capacitor value C is selected in such a way that the RE is the impedance offered by RE is very much greater than the impedance offered by CE for an AC signal. So when for this same circuit, when I apply an AC signal, it will look like this. So a resistor in parallel to a short will be also a short, and and our circuit looks similar to this with we have this here. So our main transistor part has been replicated because of the presence of a bypass capacitor. So the effect of the bypass capacitor is to have the RE in for DC analysis, and keep it a short circuit for AC analysis. So that is why a capacitor is added in parallel to RA and called as bypass capacitor. Let us again go to the transistor circuit. Basic transistor emitter base collector, and due to the junctions there will be a junction capacitor at both the junctions, and this junction capacitor as we have seen at low frequencies, the impedance offered is due to a capacitor is very high and it acts as an open circuit. So at low frequencies, the effect of this junction capacitance to our model of a transistor model will be negligible, and they are not have been considered at low frequencies. But at high frequencies, the transistor the network approximation of the transistor in this way is invalid, because at high frequencies there will be a considerable effect of these capacitances on our transistor model. So there are many models that are used for at high frequencies, and the most and what we all study is the Gia collector model. Let's have a look at it. This is how a Gia collector model looks. This is the input. This is the base spreading resistor. And it contributes to the effective base. Between B dash is the effective base and B is the actual base. This is the VB dash E, that is the voltage across the effective base and the emitter. Emitter is here, collector is here. So and this is the resistance between B dash and E. Capacitance between them, capacitance between B dash and C, resistance between them, and this is the resistance between E and C, and this is GM. This is a voltage controlled current source. Voltage control current source, GM into VB dash E. So this is the model that is used for the approximation of a transistor into a network at high frequencies. Let us see the typical values of the components that are in here. The RB-E is a very small resistance of value around 100 ohms. The RB-E is by around 1K. The CB-E is around 100 picofarad. CB-C is 3 picofarad. RB-C is a very high value of 4 mega ohm. RC is around 40K. It's 80K, and GM is around 50 milliamperes per volt. So using these values and this circuit, we can use the transistor model at high frequencies. Okay guys, this is all about the transistor and its models. For more videos, subscribe to our channel, and if you like the video, please like it, and comment, and please give your precious comments. Thank you.